Hey, hi everybody. Here I am Manik and from the channel Literature Study at Home, I welcome you for our 2 days discussion. So as you can see, this is a kind of series which I can say that it is a kind of jumbled up series, not from drama, not from poetry, not from short story fiction in particular. Rather, it is a kind of jumbling of series. So here I can try to trace your knowledge especially on your English literature. Okay, so let us jump for our today's discussion on 50 most important MCQs from English literature and especially for paper 2 studies, or rather for the students who are pursuing for entrance exam and any other thing. Okay, so let us start our today's proceedings. Your first question says that according to Matthew Arnold, poetry should replace what as the primary guide for society? As we are approaching to an era that is called Victorian period, and Matthew Arnold was a prominent figure of this era. At that time, science was at its epic, isn't it? So that time, Arnold thought that there is a kind of dichotomy between science and religion. So he said that poetry should replace religion, not philosophy, my dear friends. Now come to the second question. In Friedrich Nietzsche's The Birth of Tragedy, what does he consider the two opposing forces in art? Whenever you are in a mood to read literary theory, Friedrich Nietzsche's The Birth of Tragedy is an impressive one to read. So he, in that essay, he considered these two opposing forces in terms of art, and they are they are godly figures, Dionysian and Apollonian. Okay, come to question number 3. Walter Pater emphasizes which principle in his work Studies in the History of the Renaissance? Walter Pater always talks about, for the sake of art, he is a prime figure of the art for arts movement. So that's why he talked about aesthetic appreciation of beauty. Now come to question number 4. What is the primary subject of Émile Zola's The Experimental Novel? So in the experimental novel, Émile Zola was very much in a mood to talk about the process of writing fiction, and while doing this, he always gave emphasis on the scientific approach to writing fiction. Come to question number 5. In the decay of lying, Oscar Wilde argues for. In the decay of lying, Oscar Wilde was very much conscious to our people about the superiority of imagination over reality. So it is your option, my dear friends. Now come to question number 6. What does T.S. Eliot emphasize in tradition and individual talent? Tradition and individual talent is a groundwork literary theory book, and you should read it again and again, I believe. So here he talked about impersonal theory, and the prime prime theme of it is the separation of an artist's personality from their work. Your option A is the correct answer. Next, in Art as Technique, a finest books by Victor Slovodsky. Here he introduces a very significant concept. Now your and question is, what is the concept that Victor Slovodsky has propounded in this book, Art as Technique? His magnum opus theory, and that is defamiliarization. Option A is the correct answer. Then we have question number 8. In Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own argues primarily for what? A room of one's own is another groundbreaking feministic text. So here Virginia Woolf talks about women's economic and creative independence. Okay, your option A is the correct answer. Now come to question number 9. According to Walter Benjamin in On Language at Such and On the Language of Man. So here Walter Benjamin or Benjamin rather talks about language and what is the meaning of it according to Walter Benjamin in his On Language as Such and On the Language of Man. He talks about language as a divine gift embodying meaning. Got it? Now, the next critical work we have in the list in the affective fallacy by William K. Wimsatt and Munro D. Beardsley. The authors warn against what? So, as you know, affective fallacy and intentional fallacy, they are the two fallacies occasionally done by the author and the reader. So, what is the meaning of it? Or actually, what Munro and Beardsley warn against, that is, as we find that evaluating literature based on its emotional effects or other effects on the reader. So when you are doing it, that means you are evaluating literature based on its emotional effect upon you. Then you are doing affective fallacy, my dear friend. Come to question number 11. Who provides the first perspective on Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice? In Pride and Prejudice, we have this or rather those two prominent characters. On the first hand, we have Elizabeth Bennet. She is the protagonist, and the hero, Mr. Darcy. So, who provides the first perspective on both those characters? And it is none other than their rather mother, Elizabeth's mother, Mrs. Bennet. Got it? Now come to question number 12. What motivates Captain Ahab's relentless pursuit of Moby Dick in the novel Moby Dick? So, what was the motivation for Captain Ahab's relentless pursuit for Moby Dick, the great whale? It was his revenge for the loss of his leg. As you already come across while reading this novel, that he has a wooden leg, isn't it? Now, next question. In 100 Years of Solitude, and this was written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which natural disaster symbolizes the end of Macondo? So, there we have a natural disaster, and I have discussed this novel in a summary mode. You can check for it in your in our YouTube videos. So, in 100 Years of Solitude, which natural disaster mentioned at the end of Macondo? So, it was a torrential flood. Option D is here, is the right option. Now come to next question. Another world classic novel, in The Great Gatsby. What do the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckleburg symbolize? In the novel The Great Gatsby, Dr. T.J. Eckleburg is one of the finest characters, and he became a key figure in literature for his significant eyes. So your question is, what do the eyes symbolize? So here eyes symbolize divine judgment or moral decay. Now next novel, that is To Kill a Mockingbird. So here question is question number 15. What is Scout's main lesson from Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird? So here your question is, what is Scout's lesson? Scouts learn from Atticus Finch. He learned the courage is facing what is right despite opposition. Now, next question. Which historical event forms the backdrop of War and Peace written by Leo Tolstoy? So, which historical event forms the backdrop of War and Peace? It is the Napoleonic Wars. Question number 17. What is the final fate in 1984 in the character of Winston Smith? So, Winston Smith, is the central character or the protagonist of the novel. So, what is the final fate for him? As you know, he becomes a devout believer in Big Brother. As you know, Big Brother is a kind of prominent figure there, and always our motto is there, Big Brother is watching you. Now come to question number 18. The theory of the extraordinary man is central to which novel? The theory of extraordinary man is central to a novel, and you are very much capable of, I think this is a novel of a psychological thriller by a prominent Russian writer, and it is Crime and Punishment, isn't it? Crime and Punishment. This is the famous novel, Extraordinary Man. Here we have the character Raskolnikov, who thought about this. He murdered a pawnbroker, and he thought that this killing is not a crime, rather it is the job of an extraordinary man to eradicate the people who are doing evil in the society. So this theory was developed by him, Raskolnikov, in the novel Crime and Punishment. Now comes the question number 19. What was Holden Caulfield want to be in The Cather in the Rye? In The Cather in the Rye, Holden Caulfield, he wanted to be a protector of children's innocence. Now, next character, rather next question. In Don Quixote or Don Quixote, what does Don Quixote mistake for giants? He thought they are giants, and he, went there to fight against them. So, these giants were not giants, rather these were windmills, isn't it? Now come to question number 21. Which theme is central to Jane Eyre? Jane Eyre is another prominent novel. So here, what is the theme that is central to this novel? Obviously, it is about individual freedom and moral integrity, which was sought by the character Jane Eyre. Now, question number 22. What philosophical dilemma does Ivan Karamazov grapple with the brothers Karamazov? So, the brothers Karamazov features the central character Ivan Karamazov. So, this man was in dilemma, philosophical dilemma. So, he was grappling with what? He was grappling with the reconciliation of faith and reason. Your option A is the correct answer. Now, which famous line opens Anna Karenina? Anna Karenina is another world classic novel rather, you need to read. So, what is the famous opening line of it? Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. This is the famous line we have found in the novel. Now, which character in 1984 symbolizes the party's ideological manipulation? So here we have a character who symbolizes the party's ideological manipulation, and he is the man who wanted to help Winston Smith. In reality, not. He was a member of this Big Brother community. And it is obviously O'Brien. Your option B is the correct answer. Now, what critical question is raised by Melville's Moby Dick? So here we have a very severe concern, and severe concern is raised with the critical question, that is obviously. First one says that is revenge ever justified? Obviously, it is also there. Can humanity overcome its obsession? It is also there. Does nature reflect divine will? It is also there. So your option, all of the above, will be the right option. Okay, option D is the correct answer. Now, what is the function of Bertha Mason in Jane Eyre? This character is very famous, and with the help of this character, we have novel like White Sargassoti, we have a novel like Mad Woman in the Attic, which come later. So this character is a significant one. So what is the function of Bertha Mason in Jane Eyre? So in Jane Eyre, it says that a plot device was used to delay Jane and Rochester's union. Obviously, it was there. Then Bertha Mason was a symbol of suppressed emotions and societal constraints. It is also obviously, and then a representation of Jane's rebellious nature. No, it is not there. So you can say that both A and B is the correct answer. Actually, she plays as a plot device to delay Jane and Rochester's union, and at the same time, she is a symbol of suppressed emotions and societal constraints. Now, come to 27 question number. Which work first introduced the term magical realism? So there is a lot of confusion about this, but I go for rather, and I have found the proof against it, so that's why I go for it. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Okay, now which novel primarily critiques the American dream? American dream is a kind of a theme which we found occasionally in the novels of American literature. There we have a novel, and that is The Great Gatsby. So in this novel, it is mentioned clearly, if you go through the story, that it is critiquing the American dream. Now, next, what type of narrative technique is used in To Kill a Mockingbird? So here we have a very typical narrative technique, and that is none but very much concern for you, and that is first person narrative. Okay, first person narrative is used there. Now, in which of Dostoevsky's novels does the idea, if God is dead, then everything is permitted, appear? So obviously this is a kind of a novel where central character is in debate with faith and other things, and the answer is the brothers Karamazov. Obviously option C is the right answer. Now come to question number 31. According to Matthew Arnold, in the study of poetry, which of the following is not a function of poetry? So here it is said that which is not a function of poetry. Which is not a function of poetry. So kindly note the options. Consolation for loss of religion, it is saying. Providing moral guidance, obviously it is mentioned. Delivering scientific truths, I think this is not mentioned. And elevating the souls obviously was there. So it can be said that it is not the function of poetry, that is delivering scientific truth is not the function of poetry, and that is mentioned by Matthew Arnold in his The Study of Poetry. Now another critical work in Das Kapital, written by Karl Marx. He discusses commodity fetishism. So what is commodity fetishism in his theory of book named Das Kapital? So fetishism is something which you are giving more emphasis on something which is not as much worth. And that's why you can say that the attribution of social relations to material objects. I'm citing an example, just like think about it. A glass of water and a gram of diamond, which is very much necessary to us. Obviously, a glass of water, but if you want to buy, then you can find out the difference. You can buy a glass of water easily. You can even get a glass of water freely, but in terms of diamond, can you get it? No, you need to use a lot of money. So here we have given more emphasis on on material things. So it is about fetishism. Now come to question number 33. Soren Kierkegaard's Two Ages, a literary review. So it distinguishes between what? Soren Kierkegaard's Two Ages, a literary theory or the literary review. Here he distinguishes between the age of revolution and the age of reflection. Your option 3 is the right answer. Now, Friedrich Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Okay, here he introduces a very important concept. So, what is it? So, Nietzsche in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he spoke about the concept of eternal recurrence. Eternal recurrence. This is your option 1 is the correct answer. Now, Walter Pater, in Studies in the History of Renaissance, he describes aesthetic appreciation to what? So, according to Walter Pater, aesthetic appreciation is an intense experience of beauty. Now, question number 36. Emile Zola's The Experimental Novel. Here he applied which scientific method to literature. So Zola in the experimental of novel, so he used this scientific method, and this scientific method is called positivism and empirical observation. Now, question number 37. Oscar Wilde, in The Decay of Lying, he argues that what? So, in Decay of Lying, Oscar Wilde argues that nature imitates art. Now, Stephen Mallarmé in the evaluation of literature, he suggests that poetry. So, what Mallarmé suggests about poetry? So, he said that poetry should explore abstract forms and meaning. Got it? Now come to question number 39. In What is Art? What is Art is a critical work by Leo Tolstoy. So Leo Tolstoy defines art in What is Art. So according to Tolstoy, what is art? Okay, your option should be that is that a means to communicate universal emotions. So throughout a writer express or rather communicate universal emotions. Got it? Now, question number 40. Antonio Gramsci's Prison Notebooks. So here in Prison Notebooks, Antonio Gramsci introduces a very significant concept. Now, you need to mention what is it, and that is organic intellectual. So, if you want to know about the concepts I mentioned in the options or in the questions, you can write in the comment box so that I can discuss them in detail. I occasionally discuss them in our classes. So, if you want to join our classes, you can contact on the number displayed in the title of the box. Okay, now come to question number 41. In the open work, Umberto Eco emphasizes. So now we have a work, and that is the open work, and this work was written by Umberto Eco. So Umberto Eco here in the open work, what does he rather she emphasizes? So she emphasizes the infinite possibilities of meaning within a text. That's why the work is called open work. Here we can have infinite possibilities of meaning within a text. Now, another critical figure, important figure, question number 42. A.C. Beardley and his poetry for poetry's sake. So A.C. Beardley's poetry for poetry's sake insists that the beauty of poetry lies in its form, not in content. So poetry for poetry's sake says that the beauty of poetry lies not in its content, rather in its form. Now question number 43. Sigmund Freud's creative writers and daydreaming, these are the two separate works. These works link literary creativity to what? So Sigmund Freud's creative writers and daydreaming. So here he links literary creativity to the sublimation of unconscious desires. In question number 44, T.E. Hume in Romanticism and Classicism. In this book, Romanticism and Classicism, he criticizes Romanticism for what? So T.E. Hume in Romanticism and Classicism criticizes Romanticism for its unrealistic optimism. Okay. Now, next question, question number 45. In arts as technique, we have already discussed the question. Victor Slovodsky introduces the concept of defamiliarization. Now you have to answer what is it? What is the meaning of it? Defamiliarization is meaning or other means depicting ordinary objects in new unfamiliar ways. Now question number 46. Virginia Woolf in A Room of One's Own. Here she argues that women's creativity has historically been hindered by what? So Virginia Woolf in A Room of One's Own argues that women's creativity has historically hindered by patriarchal structures and lack of education. That's why she cited the sister of William Shakespeare, who was neglected in everything. So, as an imaginative character, she cited this. Okay, now question number 47. In The Burning Fountain by Philip Wheelwright, he introduces the concept of. In The Burning Fountain by Philip Wheelwright, he introduces the concept of symbolic imagery as the essence of poetry. Now come to the next question. Jean-Paul Sartre's Why Write? This is a significant work. Why write? So he asserts that writing is thus. Writing is, according to Jean-Paul Sartre, a committed act with a responsibility to readers. Now, question number 49. Northrop Frye's Anatomy of Criticism. Here, it identifies which literary archetype as central to tragedy. So here, he talks about the scapegoat as the archetype as central to tragedy. Now, the last question for today. Roman Jakobson in the Metaphoric and Metonymic Poles. Significant work of him, the Metaphoric and Metonymic Poles. He distinguishes these two poles of language as what? Metaphoric to substitution and metonymic as combination. So that's all for today. I hope this was beneficial for you. If you find it helpful, kindly support me with your comment, with your recommendation. I will try to improve myself. That's all. Thank you and have a great day and have a great time for your preparation. Thank you.